In 2026, markets don't move on.
GM everyone, welcome back to The Big Picture, brought to you, of course, by SolanaFloor, where we unpack the intersection of macro, of crypto, and the capital flows that most of CT ignores. I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful Mr. Thomas Bahamas from just across the pond. GM Thomas, how are we doing?
Good morning. I'm doing all right. The market's not doing the best, but we are here and I'm doing good.
Markets are suffering indeed. Now, before we start, a very quick disclosure, and we want to be upfront about this. SolanaFloor is a subsidiary of the Jito Foundation, although we do retain full editorial control. And the reason for this disclaimer is that I'm super excited today to be chatting with the co-founder and CEO of Jito Labs. And I'm excited because they're one of the most bullish teams, hands down, on CT right now. And they're expanding from critical Solana infrastructure towards exciting consumer products. You've no doubt seen the JTX announcements on the timeline, and we're going to get straight into all of it today.
Yeah, and to be honest, the timing couldn't be better for this conversation, right? So we had Mark Boyron on from Polygon last week. You know, he made some interesting comments. You know, he told us that Solana needs to stop trying to win everything and go win trading. So perps, prediction markets, serious on-chain finance. And I mean, he said a lot of nice things about Solana, and he basically said that Solana is the best venue for trading and should act like it. So this is exactly what Jito's doing right now, right? So this week we have the person on whose infrastructure already sits underneath a lot of that trading activity, and now they're actually going to be building on the front end of it, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a big swing, and yeah, as you said, TV, that's why we're going to learn all about why Jito is launching JTX, how it sort of fits into this overall macro view of crypto as a maturing industry, and I guess ultimately what it means for the Solana ecosystem going forward. So, Lucas, welcome to The Big Picture. It is great to have you on.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Welcome, welcome. Excited to have you on here.
Absolutely. Now, we keep seeing posts, Lucas. Like it's a big week, big month, and it's been quite a few big weeks, but price unfortunately hasn't been doing what we expected to. I mean, we know April was one of the worst months in crypto history. May was looking like it was slightly better, and it looks now like we're going to have a very difficult June. So paint the sort of big picture for me, if you will. Where are we as an industry right now?
Yeah, it's really weird. I think that we have the best fundamentals that we've ever had. At the same time, we have really, really ugly price action. And so I think that that gap is what a lot of people are talking about. So Bitcoin's down what, like 20-ish%, sitting in the mid 60s right now. MicroStrategy's just sold like a tiny bit of Bitcoin. I think it's their first sale in many years, and like it's such a small portion of the stack. But that contrast of him saying that he would never sell to selling, I think, has really spooked a lot of people. And I think that there's also a lot of people that are trading stocks right now. Stocks are ripping this whole AI narrative, and it's really sucking the oxygen out of crypto. And I think there's a lot of crypto traders that I know that are trading stocks right now instead of crypto, just because of the price action that we were just talking about. I think like meme coins burn a lot of people, retail is getting tired, but at the same time, you have insanely good fundamentals. So you have like no action letters coming from the CFTC and SEC. You have Clarity hopefully passing this year. The infra just keeps getting better and better. Solana is getting faster and faster. And yeah, there's just increased stablecoin usage. And we have a lot of blockchains and like venues that are doing insane trading volume, even in this down market that has never happened in the past during this previous bear markets. So I would say that, like, on the one hand, you have things, the price action and all that is like kind of upsetting. But on the other side, you have like really, really positive news and this kind of like slow burn of positive developments at like all the fundamental levels, like the regulatory side and the technology side.
And I do find this very interesting, actually, because we talk a lot about this decoupling, if you will, of price and fundamentals. One is terrible, the other one has never been better. As you mentioned, people would rather trade AI stocks at the moment. They're reaching all-time highs. You've got the S&P 500 sort of topping all-time highs every week, despite a terrible macro outlook. So I guess fundamentally, what is it that makes you bullish on Solana specifically, the on-chain economy more generally, given that we expect some assets to perform terribly in light of negative macro sentiment? They're not. They're performing even better now. And we expect store of value type of assets like Bitcoin to outperform, and they're performing terribly. So nothing really makes sense, right? What makes you bullish given all of that?
Yeah, I would say that specifically on Solana, I think that the pace of development on Solana is by far the fastest pace that we see from any blockchain. So I think last year we increased the cost unit, basically the block size. We should be close to doubling them within the next few weeks here to 100 million CUs. So the blocks are getting bigger, transactions will get cheaper, and that's super positive for Solana. And I think Solana is the best trading chain right now for trading spot. And I think we'll touch on perps a little bit later. But yeah, I think there's definitely I think people are transitioning and viewing themselves as traders now instead of just crypto traders. And we're seeing a lot of good products, specifically in the perp space on Solana and then other chains as well, that are starting to cater to these people that want to trade stocks. So being able to trade stocks on leverage and commodities and things like that. So I think that that keeps me super bullish. And then all this regulatory stuff will make it easier for us to bring all these other assets that are traded on other venues on chain. And yeah, I mean, Solana is doing a ton of volume. There's other platforms like Hyperliquid that are doing tons of volume. But if you look at that in comparison to the rest of the pie chart, it's still such a small sliver. And so all this positive development outside of like the technology, like all the regulatory things and being able to trade securities and commodities, I think just has me super bullish. And I think that as a crypto builder, you really have to ignore all this noise and just keep building. And I think this is what set us up super well when we first started Jito, is that we launched the validator client and Jito Sol right before this super deep bear market in 2022, and Solana was just massively impacted, and we just like kept our heads down and building, and we are in the position we are in now because we ignored the noise and just kept building. So I think that's a piece of advice for all the builders, is just don't really get distracted with all this and just double down and keep going.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, this has been such a weird market, but it seems like the core of crypto is trading when it comes down to it, right? And the market seems to be valuing that with, Hyperliquid, with different trading venues. And I mean, when you look at, crypto as a whole, trading is not going away, and it's almost like that is the right time to be building in that space, and that's exactly what you guys are doing. So we're definitely interested. We're going to get into JTX, and I just have one more bear market question for you. I mean, this isn't your first bear market. It's not Jito's first bear market. Like recommending to everyone building in the space, like how do you get through this and really come out the other side, with success like you guys did? Like what helped you guys last time just kind of keep your heads down, chew glass, and move forward?
Yeah, I think this confidence that the volume and activity on blockchains is only going to increase. And there's been a lot of cool kind of these like UX improvements that abstract the chain away. So like
Yeah.
embedded wallets and being able to log in with your email and have private keys associated with that, as opposing to managing browser wallets and things like that. And all this regulatory clarity that's coming, and having a multi-year vision definitely helps a lot and helps kind of keep your eye on the prize, as opposed to like constantly checking the 1 minute chart and like being super tied to that. I think it's super negative. And then I think the other thing too is that if you're a builder, hopefully you raise money, be smart with your cash, just
Yeah.
put it into treasury bills. Don't be degenning with your treasury, and just be really smart. And I think that you really have to be. I think it's probably a hard time to raise money right now, but you really need to be opportunistic when you raise money. So when things are looking really good, even if you maybe don't need that money, go and start to raise another round so that you can continue to expand throughout the bear market. And that's exactly what we did last cycle. Um, so we raised money at the end of 2021 into 2022. We didn't really need money, but we got really fortunate, and someone came to us and offered us more money for another round. So we took it. And that was incredible because we could just keep growing our team, keep hiring. And then the same thing kind of happened on this last cycle. And we were fortunate enough to raise $50 million right before all this happened. And so that will allow us to continue doubling down and continue to grow the team and make strategic investments throughout this kind of weird market cycle. And it's going to come back. It always does. People say this time's different. I don't think it is. Maybe there's like a few things that are different about it, but it's going to come back. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
really got to keep your eye on the prize, multi-year vision, and opportunistically raise money.
Yeah, I'd say the frustrating part about this one is there are so many working products. I feel like the last bear market,
Hmm.
we weren't sure if everything was going to work. Where it's like now, it's like we've basically built an economy on Solana. And we mentioned earlier like how bullish the Jito team is on like just on Solana in general. Like it's like a bright side when I open up Twitter and I see somebody from Jito talking, because you guys are so bullish on Solana, and I love to see that. I wish that the market was kind of seeing that the same way. What do you think it's going to take right now for Solana to kind of decouple from the Bitcoin and ETH dumping right now? I feel like Solana is just being caught in the
Yeah.
fire, right? It's not like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's definitely a hard problem. I think that as you mentioned earlier on a previous podcast with someone from Polygon, they mentioned that Solana is a really good chain for trading. I
Yeah.
think that Solana needs to focus on trading to win. Stablecoins and all of that stuff is great, but there's a lot of fee sensitivity and they tend to pay low priority fees. When you're trading and you have bots trading, they want to pay a lot. They're willing to pay a premium to land faster. You don't really have that with stablecoins. And there's a lot of like high frequency trading and people and bots and users wanting to trade fast. And that generates a ton of priority fees and all that value flows into Sol. So I think focusing on trading, we've seen how well that's played off for Hyperliquid. And they have like, at least in this period of time over the past few months, really decoupled from a lot of the price action that we've seen on other assets. And then two, I think is there's been some interesting proposals from a few different parties on better value accrual to the asset.
Yeah.
And so like I think there's one that cuts the rate of inflation down faster so that there's less emissions. And that's good because emissions create sell pressure on the asset. And then the other one is KV from Temporal posted one about increasing I believe it was increasing the base fee, increasing the burn based on how many cost units are requested. And so if there's more activity, there's more burn. And so I think that focusing on trading and focusing on like value accrual while also balancing, like you don't want to make value accrual the main focus because you could price people out. So there's kind of this fine balance there that we need to figure out. But I think that will really help turn Solana around. And then I think also one more point is just getting more people using the chain, focusing on trading, getting more users using it. The top of Solana was the day that the Trump meme coin launched, and like
Yeah.
there was just so much attention and so much people using it, and like the priority fees and tips were just insane. And so like that's just the perfect example. Like if people are using the chain and they're trading on it, then the price will follow.
Yeah, that was such a crazy time. And it does actually kind of seem like things are in overdrive right now. Like there's a few SIMDs that are out there right now. It kind of feels like to me, it kind of seems like IBRL season is upon us right now, right? We've got a little bit of increase in fees, reduction of inflation, lower block times, like Alpenglow coming out. Like it really does seem like people are kind of looking at things and saying like, hey, we can actually make some changes on this. Obviously, we don't want to turn into ETH and start, burning too many fees like that, but there is room for improvement there. Like what are your thoughts on those? Like, is that something that excites you and you're like, yes, like this is something that is needed to be addressed right now?
Yeah, I think it'll help a lot. And I think that you don't want to fall into this trap where you're like, everything's perfect, we shouldn't adjust it, we shouldn't reevaluate it. I think that we need to spend more time thinking about these things because they are really important. But at the same time, at the end of the day, we just need people using the chain, and we need traders using it. We need Solana in every person's pocket, and I think that is probably more important than any of the economics. Well, at the same time, I do think the economics will definitely help out, addressing some of the concerns around value accrual for Sol.
I want to talk about JTX, and we do want to get as deep as is humanly possible on this. I know there's some things that haven't quite been announced yet, so it's up to you to sort of decide how much alpha you can share with us here today. But I want to start at a very high level. Did you see a set of problems and you thought JTX will be the solution to this, or did you see naturally the ecosystem, the Solana ecosystem, maturing to a point where there was a need, the trader base needed something like this, and you're actually solving a problem for the users of the chain? Like, talk me through the thought process and the moment when you decided, okay, JTX is going to be the answer to it.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been building core infra for the past like 4 or 5 years on Solana. We've been in every single corner of this network. We know how it works super well, and we are super tied to the success of Solana. But as a core infra company, you are kind of there's only so much you can do. And I think that it's really underappreciated, the work that you do. At the same time, you can't really directly bring users on chain through the infra. Like, yeah, faster slot times and like all these things really help, but that's kind of a small piece of what people experience when they use these applications. And so I would say like we kind of started ideating on things back in like November. So we went through we went through two different ideas on like what we wanted to build in the consumer space to get more people using Solana. And yeah, I think those ideas were not the right ideas. And it was kind of a brainstorming process internally. Like, what do we do here? How do we get more people using the chain? And we ended up deciding on trading because it's in our DNA. And we think that there's a big part of the market that's not being addressed right now. And it's this like pro retail, prosumer trading audience. So maybe they're trading on Solana, they use like a bunch of different applications, or they're more used to centralized exchanges and the experience that you get there. And so we really locked in on this like prosumer, pro retail audience for JTX that we think is being underserved right now. And we are just making the best possible experience for those people. And so there will be really, really good spot execution. We're grinding towards MVP, and we'll be releasing early July, and we'll have some early beta testers. Definitely send you guys an invite for that so you can test it out and try to break it. And then
We will.
yeah, we'll launch we'll launch it in July and then kind of start to get feedback, and then we'll start to add in perps and all that.
So that was, well, a couple of questions in there that the community had raised with us about day one, when launch, and then when will perps get added on. You've sort of answered those. Another question, and slight risk of derailing the conversation, we are going to get right back to JTX, but we're talking about the two deflation proposals. A question is, what is the time frame at which, assuming they both pass, by the way, how quickly does Sol become deflationary? Do you have a sense of, is it going to be 6, 12, 18 months? How quickly might that happen?
Oh, I'm not sure, to be honest. I know there's some math in the proposals in some different like bear, normal, bull cases, but I haven't actually run the math, so I unfortunately don't have a good answer for that.
But if you had to stab just a number out there, would you say it's possible within 12 months?
I would probably say like 18 months to 2 years.
Gotcha. Clear. Now, getting back to JTX, because this is what we really, really want to get stuck into here. So you sort of described the prosumer audience there, and I fully agree that that is one of the biggest gaps that exists at the moment with on-chain trading. A sort of personal anecdote that I can share is back in 2020, 2021, when I was living in a different part of Western Europe, I was using Webull as this sort of comprehensive all-in-one trading platform, and Europe just didn't have an answer to it. Regulation happened, and then we couldn't use it anymore. And then I ended up going back to trading with 9 tabs, poor Wi-Fi, and it was just not a great experience trading on chain, right? So it sounds like, at least for people like me, you're definitely solving that problem with JTX. But stepping back for a second, what is JTX going to be then? Is it Robinhood on chain? Is it the best Solana perps venue? Is it an aggregator of all possible Solana trades? Is it all the, like, what would you say is the single line explanation of what the sort of end game for JTX is?
Yeah, the end game for JTX, I would say, is where the world can trade everything. And that's where we're going. That's the multi-year time horizon. We have to kind of choose the MVP. And so we are really focused on spot. Solana is the best place to trade spot right now. It's doing the most volume. There's the most assets listed there. And so we're starting with spot and then go into perps via Phoenix perps, and then go into some of the prediction markets. And there's some really, really interesting companies that are launching some more exotic things to trade that I'm really excited about. And those will be on Solana. It's not my place to kind of leak their alpha, but there's some really cool stuff coming. And I think that we will definitely support that in JTX. And I think that we just want people to be able to trade everything on chain.
That
I
would
love
be
that. I love that.
an
I'm a big
incredible
fan. Oh,
18 months. Sorry, TB. I just wanted to reiterate because I think your audio dropped off there for a second. Lucas was saying potentially in an 18-month period, assuming both of those proposals pass, Sol could well become deflationary, and then through JTX, it also becomes the best place to trade everything on chain. I think to anchor into our audience's minds a very, very optimistic outcome for the next 18 months. That's a sort of great grand vision to have. But go ahead.
yeah, that's interesting. So when you talk about like one venue for trading everything, that gets me so excited because right now if I'm trading things on chain on Solana, right, like I use a bunch of different venues, right? Like I'll use Jupiter for small swaps, Titan for big swaps. If I'm on mobile, I use Jupiter Mobile. If I want to turn my VPN on, I go to Phoenix. Like there's just like a swath of different venues. Like if everything could be in one place, that sounds like the dream experience for me. Like, is that like what you're doing? Like as an infrastructure provider, you're seeing all these different venues. You're seeing like, all right, these are the issues. These are the bottlenecks in this. Is this something where it's like, you're going to bring it all into one place and I can just open JTX and trade everything?
Yeah, for sure. And that's the feedback that you just gave is we did some customer interviews. We interviewed like 10 or 20 people. And that was one common point of feedback is that they use a bunch of different apps. They have all these different wallets. There's not really a good place to track P&L. And so, yeah, we were really focused on this like really good trading experience and spot, perps, prediction markets. I think our bread and butter will really be this order execution. So we'll have really good, kind of like the basic stuff like market orders. And then we have actually true resting limit orders, which I don't think any or very, very small number of applications like kind of have them. But yeah, I've been testing those out the past few days and they are filling super fast. They're actually resting on chain. A lot of the limit orders that people are using today through these apps are like trigger orders. So you kind of are like waiting on this like back end system. It's watching the price and then it'll kind of fill it. It's not really like this resting thing on chain. And so we spend a lot of time working on that. It's working super well. Like the fills are coming the same slot that we open them in. And then we'll have really good TWAPs. So like a SEC style TWAP. And we have some other really cool order types that we'll talk about later. But yeah, it just supports the fact that like the Solana is the best place to trade. So many majors like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Zcash, Sol. I think it's only going to continue to get better and better. And so we are basically building for that future where Solana is the cheapest place to trade everything, spot, perps, and anything else that you can imagine.
What's the biggest KPI, I guess, of better than sex execution in that case? Is it transactions? Is it how do you measure it for you? Because you've been in the weeds,
Yeah.
you're testing it as well. What's the one thing you're laser focused on improving?
Yeah, I'd say there's two things. One is the user experience. So, how fast do the notifications come back? And that's something that we've been tweaking a lot over the past, like, I guess we built out all the basic stuff and now it's like really tweaking how fast the notifications are coming in. And so, there's some stuff that, now that's basic and working, we can really make it faster. We've already found a lot of speed improvements that we can make. And so when you click a button and you hit that market order, it will send like your notification is instant because Solana is just so fast.
Mhm.
And so like that's really important to us, how fast the notifications come in between clicking it. Because that's when it really goes from like this Web3 experience with like, if you use Ethereum during DeFi summer, like you would have to wait seconds at a minimum and sometimes minutes depending on your the fee that you paid. And with this it feels more like a centralized exchange where like you hit a button, you don't have to wait. Like if you're trading on Coinbase or Binance or any other exchange, like your notification that your order lands is just instant.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. The other thing that we really look at a lot is the price improvement compared to a centralized exchange. So one of the things that we previewed in this in the announcement that we have in JTX is we're basically listening to the order books from all these centralized exchanges. And when your trade lands on chain, we will pull the order book from that centralized exchange and rerun the same trade and show you how much money you saved. And so that's
awesome.
another key KPI for us. We're not like super, we do have some control over that just because of like the routing and stuff like that. Like we can route to the best places. And right now for routing, we're using dflow. But yeah, I think that by collecting that data, we can kind of share that data. Hey, like some of the spreads on like Jupiter or JTO or whatever it is are like a little wider on chain. Hey, market makers, like let's get some prop AMMs running for these and get the spreads tighter. So those are kind of like the UX, and then the price improvement are some of the main things that we think that we can basically match or beat Sexes on. And then I would say like another thing that we're looking at is like the percentage of trades over some dollar amount that happen via JTX compared to some other platforms. And so like we're really targeting the prosumer, pro retail audience. So we don't necessarily care about the swaps that are like $1 or $10. It's like what percentage of the swaps on the network above like $1,000 or $5,000 are going through JTX.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah.
Love to hear that. And so when you're talking about these swaps, a lot of the most expensive swaps on Solana have been, meme coin swaps. A lot of that infrastructure was kind of built around that. Is this something that you guys are planning on building? Will people be able to trade meme coins easily on JTX, I guess is the main question.
Yeah, they will. It's not the main target audience. We think that the meme coin space is pretty well covered between like FOMO and Axiom, and they've built great products for that. You will be able to trade every single token on Solana through JTX, but we are not necessarily catering towards that audience. A lot of the order automation and order execution stuff will work for that. And I think we'll have some stuff that those platforms don't have. So if those things really matter to you, then you can trade it on JTX. But we're really focused on like, I would say memes that have kind of reached escape velocity.
Yeah.
Some of the mid caps, obviously the large caps like Bitcoin, ETH, Sol. And then we're also going to be focusing a lot on stocks and commodities and things like that as well.
I like it. I like it. Now, I have to bring this up. You tweeted out that the trenches need a stimmy. Based on the charts this morning, it seems like all of crypto needs a stimmy. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that like there needs to be this like catalyst to really kick things off. And I think like there was, when we launched JTO, there was a lot of bottom waiting for the airdrop, and that pissed off some of the whales that had a lot of points from Jito Sol. But it created this kind of like wealth effect on Solana, and people went and it attracted a lot of people onto Solana. And then it also gave people a lot of money for using Jito and using Jito Sol in the beginning. And so that really needs to happen again. And hopefully someone can do that, because I think that all you need is like one thing like that to happen to really kick things off. And like before us, I think it was like Uniswap was the big one on Ethereum, created this massive wealth effect. And then there was like JTO and Jupe and some other assets that really kicked off Solana, and then started the meme coins and Radium and Pump.Fun. And so, and I guess it was kind of like Hyperliquid in a sense kind of did that like a few 1 or 2 years ago, whenever their airdrop was. And so, yeah, I think that would help out a lot for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. And now the Jito airdrop for anybody that was here was massive, right? Like it helped pump the entire ecosystem, like you said. And on Solana, we haven't really seen an airdrop like that, right? Like since you guys really launched this, like what was it about that made it so big and reward, like, did you reward the right people? And like, what would you recommend for other teams that haven't airdropped a coin yet and have plans to? Because it seems like you did it right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of that was like path dependent. So, um, yeah, when we were discussing that, we wanted to reward people, and we also wanted to create a wealth effect because I think that is super important. We've seen how that played out before. We had this theory that if we did that, it would really help stimulate this like economy and city that is Solana. Um, and then yeah, I think the other thing about it is that it surprised a lot of people,
Yeah.
and people weren't expecting it. It was bottom weighted, so people that maybe they didn't have a ton of points like Kyle Samani did. I think he was like way above and beyond anyone else in
Yeah.
the point leaderboard. But the people that were like kind of smaller got a lot of they got a lot of JTO airdrop to them. But after that, like I think there's 9,000 wallets in the Jito airdrop. I think that I can't remember off the top of my head how many Jupiter had. I think it was like in the tens of thousands or like hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions. In the entire game changed after that, and there was always kind of sibling going on, and we saw some Sybil activities start to pick up in like kind of like late October and November. So we did some stuff to do that, but now it's just really hard to rerun that same playbook, and it was really path dependent because now people are just doing mass sibling. And so yeah, I think that if I was going to do it again, if I was going to do it now, I would say that if you could pull it off again and find a way to avoid sibling, that would be ideal. But it's also a massive amount of money that you are spending for, like, it's kind of a spend for this airdrop. Like, those are tokens that you'll never get back. And so I would probably, I mean, it depends a lot on your risk and, where you live and all that. But I think that exploring some of these like crowdfunding models could be pretty interesting. Or, yeah, I would probably say that, or like maybe figuring out a different mechanism for an airdrop would be the way that I would do it.
I thought for a second you almost said if we do another one. Is that something that you
no.
guys have discussed internally? Is it a hard no? Jito will not be doing another airdrop?
No, not right now.
Not right now, but it's not a never again.
Yeah, I'm very cautious to say never.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's like there's pros and cons for sure. I think that it depends at what stage you're at. I think when you really want to throw the fuel on the fire, that's kind of like the last thing that you can do. And it worked out super well for us. It's worked out super well for a lot of protocols. But it also can skew your metrics too. Like if you have a bunch of people farming, it's hard to tell if you have real traction or not. And so there's many such cases where people have like teased points or airdrops, and then as soon as the airdrop and their numbers are record high, and maybe they can go raise a round off that, but then as soon as the airdrop hits, the charts like down, like all the activity or TVL or fees or whatever the metric that you measure is like down only. And so I think you have to be careful about being able to distinguish what is the true activity and true volume, as opposed to what are people just doing for airdrops and they're just gonna like fall off whenever the airdrop hits.
Yeah, and this is something we talk about a lot, is like what your token actually means to your business, right? A lot of people use tokens as a growth model, which has proven to be, one of the best growth models we've ever seen, right? To get users to use the platform. It's almost like a little bit of a gamble, because you're showing off your platform, and it has to perform in order for people to hold the token after, right? So you're like demoing your product, you're getting users, you're giving them points, and then the flip side is you have to deliver and people have to hold it. So do you think that, like, I don't know, recurring airdrops, like you brought up Jupe. Like Jupe has had a recurring airdrop. So if you look at the token price, the token price has been pretty down only, but what they received for those continued airdrops is a ton of users, right? Like they had users
Yeah.
continuously use their product. So, maybe it's a different type of token, but there was still a ton of utility for them to have that token, right?
Mhm. Oh yeah, for sure. It's a super, super powerful growth lever. I think it's hard to do that math pre-airdrop because you don't really know what it's going to trade at. Um, but I think it's easier to run those numbers and reason about it once the token's live and like it's kind of found its like value on the market. And so at that point it's way easier to do like you can build spreadsheets and things like that to figure out like, okay, if there was an airdrop of like this much money, how much volume do we think it would take, it would generate, and how many fees would it generate, and like how long would it take to pay off, as opposed to like just YOLOing the airdrop and like not thinking about it, and you realize that, oh crap, we just like gave away a bunch of money, and the payoff wasn't really there.
Yeah, 100%. And last question about the token. So, a lot of teams like haven't been talking about their token that much. They're not that open as to like where the tokens are, what they're doing. Where you guys have taken the opposite approach lately, right? You guys have,
Yeah.
been very open about where things are. You're going to be buying back, I think it's 80% of the revenue is going to be going to buying back the token. You've been doing investor relations, which it's you guys are taking, I don't know, you're almost like setting the standard for what people should do with a token and the openness that I think is needed. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of your framing there?
Yeah, I would say this is probably something that changed for us like around a year ago. And I can't remember the exact words that Kosh used from Jupiter. He had a similar framing where it's like, you build a lot and you hope that people recognize the token uh, as like a product and that it'll do well because the products are doing well. But I don't think that's really the case. Um, you really kind of have to treat it like a product, and I think that you have to do it in an appropriate manner too. And so a lot of the stuff that Blockworks is doing around like investor relations and the token transparency framework and some of the newer initiatives that they're releasing are like very tasteful ways to do this.
Yeah.
So making it super transparent, like where's the revenue coming from? What are the different product lines? What like how much assets do the entities have behind them? And like all the other stuff that we see in the traditional markets coming to crypto, I think it's a really perfect timing for it. And yeah, we are just like that's kind of what we are all rallying behind. And on JTX, we've kind of flipped between this like value accrual and like buybacks, and then also reinvesting in growth, which I think that we are not scared to do. I think
Yeah.
that everyone on not everyone, but there's a lot of people on crypto Twitter that are like, oh, buybacks or buy and burn. Like you should always be doing this. It's like, this is like a startup. Like we're so early in this. And
Yeah.
so like you don't see startups that are just like buying back their equity super early and like doing these dividends and things like that. I think it's really inappropriate in like crypto because things are just so early. But yeah, in JTX, we will have 80% of fees will go back to the DAO. And there's also like some referral fees too that people will get paid out in JTO. And then also the other 20% will go to some multi-sig. And that 20% just lets us reinvest in growth between like, maybe it's like running marketing or running trading competitions or whatever it is. Like there needs to be a way to reinvest in growth without going through the kind of like the slow DAO approval. And so like 80% will just go straight to the DAO. And then the other 20% is like, we can be transparent about how it's spent. whether it's like marketing or trading competitions or giveaways or whatever it is. And then that just kind of lets us like move faster as opposed to doing I think it's like a 21-day approval process. It's like, oh, we see an opportunity here, like let's just go for it, and we can do it. And I think that we've shown we have the credibility that we can execute and invest in things when the time is right.
Great.
I want to switch over to some perps questions because it's been such a burning source of both frustration and anxiety and hope and optimism in the Solana ecosystem. Everyone's sort of talking about this perps race. You've got Hyperliquid, who's clearly the winner in terms of open interest, and that's proven itself to be one of the more important markers of success in perps. But straight question for you right now, Lucas, is JTX perps are going to come through Phoenix. But are they going to be available immediately on day one to US users, for example? I know that TV is based in the US. A lot of our listeners are also based in the US. Is that going to be a problem for perps traders living in the US?
Yeah, it won't be available day one. I can't necessarily comment on the availability at this point, but we'll share more in the future. But yeah, perps are really popular right now. Hyperliquid's built an incredibly good product and good business on them. And so definitely very bullish on perps in general.
Absolutely. There's also a risk element to that, I suppose, of when you're bundling all these different assets being traded in a single platform. Not to sort of talk too much about it, but April was a horrible, horrible month. I think people are still feeling a little bit burnt. There's lingering smart contract risk fears. There's sort of multi-sig risks. People are worrying about social engineering hacks. What type of audit work have you guys done already? What type of security focuses are you bringing into that? And I suppose so people want to be a little bit set at ease by trading everything in one place, but the trade-off there is maybe added risk. So curious how you're sort of balancing those two.
Yeah, we take security extremely seriously, and it's gotten to the point where like it's I would say that like when you're young and starting, you don't necessarily need to take security seriously. You just want to ship. And it is an important concern once you get to some size, but it can also slow things down. But I think we have a pretty good balance internally, and we take security extremely seriously. So we hired a head of security. I want to say like probably a year ago. I don't know. I tend to lose track of time, but yeah, we have a really good security guy. We were trying to hire another security engineer as well. We use multiple external parties, and we are starting the JTX audit pretty soon. So auditing like the front end, back end. There's an on-chain program as well that kind of manages the fees and limit orders and things like that. And so security is our top priority. We have a ton of other stuff on the security side. I can't really get into it that much, just because I don't want to tell people how everything's made. But we take it super seriously, and it's a top concern of ours because I think April was a pretty rough month for DeFi with respect to security.
It was a huge wake-up moment. And I think 2026 in general has been a sort of series of wake-up moments. One of those obviously has been what we're talking about, this perps race between Hyperliquid and Solana. Now, Phoenix is the foundation's bet, if you will. A large part of the Solana community's rallied for it, which is great to see. If somebody came to you and said, why would I not just go and trade perps on Phoenix? Why would I go to JTX? What's the sort of one-liner there?
Yeah, I think we'll have the best perps experience in all of crypto. I think we are really focused on the user experience. I think that Hyperliquid's built a great product, but there's some things that we kind of disagree on the user experience side. So I would say that's the main piece. I think that Hyperliquid is definitely doing extremely well at asset listings. So they have a ton of markets. They will create markets ahead of time and kind of just get lucky whenever those things go up. So I think someone someone was telling me this kind of happened with them with silver. I think they're just creating a bunch of markets and maybe they're not active. And then one day something outside of crypto starts to go up a lot. And then you have a bunch of takers come on and the market makers can come on and the order book's already created. So like, and you have the oracles and everything. So the market makers will flood in. I think that that's one thing that we need to catch up on for sure. The pace of listings has increased a lot from Phoenix. So there's kind of this like slow bleed of asset listings for crypto. And now I feel like they're really accelerating the crypto listings. I think they listed like 3 or 4 new assets yesterday. And then you can see them start to list commodities. So I think they have like copper and there might be a few other commodities on there that they've listed so far. And then the next thing I think will be equities. And I believe that will be pretty soon here. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And I think that we need to get to, at a bare minimum, I think you need to get to asset parity with them. And why Solana? Because I think it will eventually catch up to them on asset listings. And then you also have an incredible spot market, whether it's stocks, commodities, basically every token. Sunrise has been doing really good work bridging assets from other L1s and L2s over. And so like, I think if you can do that all in one place, then that's really how we make JTX and Solana win.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. Like I want to do all of that in one single place. So I'm getting excited just hearing that. But the one
I think another thing too is getting into, like I kind of talked about this earlier, but there's some really cool like differentiated asset types that I think will be on Solana within the next hopefully 6 months. And I think that is where we can really win. I think Seraphim from the Solana Foundation was tweeting about this like Trump AI stock basket idea.
These baskets are so exciting, actually. Yeah, for a lot of traders, I think it's going to remove so much friction when you can just one click compile long.
Yeah, it's like these like kind of like they're like these like pseudo ETFs on chain. If you have all the stocks and you have all you can like basket them and those can be bought and sold and traded. I think that would be really cool. And then even like more exotic stuff. I think that would be really cool because that would be, you can't trade that anywhere else. And that is the reason why people are using Hyperliquid. You can, of course, Hyperliquid has all those stocks, but you can't really get leverage on basically any other decentralized platform. Or no, you can, but they have like the most assets, and compared to the centralized platforms, you can get leverage. And so I think it's like leverage in these unique asset types, and that's really how we win.
Yeah, I have to say, so I've been a big fan of this platform called Sesto, and they basically built that. They built this one like Trump AI stocks, and it's a basket for it. I bought some of that, and there's like a Nancy Pelosi stock tracker. Like it's hilarious.
Nice.
And like I love everything about it, but like I see something like that. It's like I want to take that basket and then lever it up and have some fun with it. Like I think that's like a unique experience that Solana can do, right? Like the infrastructure is all there for that type of product to be built, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the application layer. Like if we can get more unique assets, leverage, and things like that you can't trade anywhere else, then that will bring in more people using it, using the protocol that you just mentioned, and that will be super, super cool. And I think that will definitely help out Solana.
I know we're going to get into our favorite part of this conversation, which is we wrap up with a rapid fire round. But just to sort of throw a very pointed question towards you, Sol price is something that's popping up in the chat here. Going all the way back to SIMD 228. If it had passed, first of all, do you think it was a mistake that it didn't pass? But if it had passed, would Sol now be significantly higher than it is in terms of price? Or is it just, so many macro conditions, so many macro headwinds that we'd realistically end up where we are regardless of SIMD 228?
Yeah, I think it's...
I know it's a tough one.
I don't know. The price might be a little higher, but I think that At the end of the day, we just need more people using the chain.
Right.
Yeah. How do we make on-chain great again?
Better apps.
Better
Yeah.
apps. I
I
agree.
think better apps and more assets. So yeah, you need to like, no one wants to deal with bridging, and they don't want to deal with like all this BS that you have to do. Like when you want to like, oh, I have a Robinhood account and a Coinbase account, and like I have a Phantom wallet or whatever it is. Like that's just annoying. Like transferring money between all these things. Like we just need to get every asset onto Solana, and that's the place to trade. And I think that's the direction that we see things heading in. We want to help out with that as much as we can, because I think that's how we win.
I agree. Remove the friction. Give us the assets.
Yes.
How safe are these bridged assets? For some reason, I have like an irrational fear that they're not properly wrapped or something along those lines. But I'm sure that you guys have looked into the security of that.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of different bridging models, and I can't comment on anyone specifically, but I think that there's several bridges that have been in development for a while. I think that and been in production for a while. There's been a lot of I think there's like extra eyes on bridges right now, just given the past, not only the past like few months, but the past few years. And so there's a ton of focus on the security there. And so I think it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, I agree.
Outside of Jito, what's the most underrated product or team that's building on Solana right now?
Ooh. I would say there's a few. I think DFlow is super underrated. They've been killing it now, and they have they're killing it now, and they're working hard on some cool stuff. And then I would say there's a few other up and coming protocols or companies that are listing some of these like more exotic things that I'm excited about. And I can't really dive into that right now, but you'll know when you see it, and you'll be pretty excited.
We'll take DFlow as an answer. So in the interest of time, we're going to go sort of rapid fire for a couple of minutes through the remaining questions that we have. Are DATs going to ruin everything?
I don't think so.
Nice. All right. JTX goes live tomorrow. What's the first trade you're taking?
Tomorrow, if it goes live tomorrow, I would say probably, I feel like Zcash is like pretty cheap right now.
Let's go.
5 years from now, who's JTX's biggest competitor? Is it another on-chain venue? Is it traditional brokerage? Is it Robinhood, or something else entirely? Something that doesn't exist even?
I'd say 5 years from now, it would be like a centralized exchange or something like a Robinhood.
CT vibes right now, are they better or worse than when Solana was at $8?
Better.
I agree. SpaceX IPO, this is going to melt people's faces when it does happen, but is it going to top the stock market as well?
I don't think so. I think there's more room.
More room. And then you add on the Anthropic IPO, same answer?
I think so. I mean, I am probably one of the worst traders in existence. But
you and me both.
I think that things can remain crazy for longer than you would think. But in retrospect, it will be obvious.
Checks out. Now, quantum computing. This is something that people have pointed to as the single biggest existential threat for crypto. Is it something that keeps you up at night?
No, not at all.
All right, my camera keeps dying, so I got to ask a quick question. Should I get a new camera? Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely. It could be your American infrastructure. I don't know how my European infra is holding up, but
better than mine.
TB, you wanted to ask about the trading show, the competition that you're going to have on JTX, actually. So you and Finn are going to be hosting that live stream. What do we want from Lucas to make that a reality?
Yeah, so me and Finn are putting together a trading show. It's going to be a live stream, and we want to do it on JTX. You know, we want to have it be live, bring some people on, show off the platform. Like, what do you want to see in a show like that?
Yeah, I would say exploring all the different assets on Solana, and then also messing around with some of the more advanced order execution. So there's like all the take profit and stop loss. But we'll have some other really cool stuff that we'll share closer to launch that I think would be really cool to show. Especially like if you're making trades on Bitcoin, like how much better pricing you're getting compared to the centralized exchanges.
Awesome. Who should we have on? Do you want to come on the show, or should we have someone else from your team?
Oh, I have someone in mind from our team.
All right.
Excellent. Well, I'm certainly not going to be placing the trades because I'm also not a great trader, but we have a long list of people that can come on and guide us through that. I'm personally super excited to try out JTX. I'm also looking forward to the day that perps go live on JTX through Phoenix. We're going to be keeping up to date and letting our audience know when that's live, when they can start trying out some trades and perps there as well. Ladies and gents, Lucas, co-founder and CEO of Jito Labs, one of the most important conversations we've had to date on this show. Thank you for being very direct on some of the hard questions that we threw your way. Where can people find you, and where should they sign up for JTX, just before we let you go?
Yeah, so my Twitter is Buffalo with 2 underscores at the end. You can follow me there. And then there's JTX_trade on Twitter for the JTX account to stay updated with things that are going on there. And then if you want to sign up, you can go to jtx.com. I'm just going to do a quick shill here. You got to go to my profile and hit my ref link so I can get some of the fees.
There you go.
Brilliant. We'll drop the ref link in the description when this video is posted as well. We're going to be back next week, of course. Final reminder that this show is, of course, not intended to be investment or financial advice. SolanaFloor is a subsidiary of the Jito Foundation. For our upcoming episodes, don't forget to subscribe to SolanaFloor. We'll see you tomorrow for the Solana Weekly News Recap. Same time, 11 a.m. ET.
Thanks for having me.